Hi everyone and welcome back. Mindy here with you today, and I'm very excited to be sharing this card with you that is featuring the tree frame die from Simon Says Stamp Diecember Release. I'm going to start off by creating the front panel of my card. This is just taking a look at how the tree frame die comes. So I'm using a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock. This is 80 pound, and I'm just taking that tree frame die and lining up towards the middle top of my panel. This panel measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to hold that down with some post-it tape so it doesn't move when I run it through my die cut machine. And that post-it tape, it didn't rip, but it did leave some sticky residue on there, so I'm just removing that with a mono eraser. So it's just kind of sanding off those sticky bits that were left. And I wanted to show you quick my sandwich for how I ran this through the die cut machine, since it is pretty intricate. So I have my platform here. Then I'm using a metal shim, a cutting plate. This is what's going to cut into. And then I lay my cardstock down and the die, and then I put another plate on top. So that is my sandwich, and I did run that through twice to make sure that that cut really well. Next, I'm going to start on the background for my tree frame. So this is a panel that is also measuring 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm actually using Bristol Smooth cardstock for this. I'm starting off with the scattered straw, and you could see previously I had kind of lined up my front panel to make sure where everything is going to be, so I'm getting it right inside that window. Next, I'm coming in with Victorian Velvet, and these are the Distress Oxide inks. This is a really unique ink blending combination, and I was really excited for how it turned out. Next, I'm coming in with Seedless Preserve. And you can see I'm just laying down some color. I'm not worried about the blending yet. I just want to get the color laid down, so it's looking kind of off, but it does work out in the end. And I do take that Seedless Preserve all the way up to the top just to get that color on there, the saturation. It does help blend better when you can add a little bit more saturation to it. And then I'm coming in with the chipped sapphire, and I really like how that chipped sapphire works with the Seedless Preserve. So I put that towards the top, and now I'm just going to be going back over all of my areas to smooth out that blend. And this does take a little bit of arm work. Even though it is Bristol Smooth paper, I wanted to make sure I had a seamless blend between the colors, so I just keep going back through and working on it. I was showing there that I brought that front panel back in, and that darker color just wasn't quite showing up in the window, so I brought that down just a little bit more. And then coming back through again with all of the colors, just blending those out. So when it comes to my ink blending, I get a lot of comments about my ink blending, and this is exactly how I do it. I just keep going over all of the areas. Sometimes in my videos, I clip a lot of it out because it does take a little bit of work, but I think it's totally worth it in the end. Just depends on the look that you're going for your card. Next, I'm going to take some Perfect Pearls, and I'm just putting some onto my white craft mat. I'm going to spritz down some water and mix that up with my paintbrush. And then I'm just going to tap my paintbrush over my ink blended panel. And this is just going to give kind of a snowy scene, but there's going to be sparkles in it because of the Perfect Pearls. And I didn't feel I was getting enough splatter, so I do just kind of add a little bit more water until I get the consistency that I'm going for. So a couple more speckles. And then, because I can't have enough glitter, I'm going to take this glitter dust in gold, and I'm going to spray the entire background. I do this in a cardboard box, and it does smell, so you want to do this in a well-ventilated area. And it gives just this beautiful gold shimmer to the card. So I'm going to set that off on the side to dry, and I'm taking this Mary die. I die cut one layer out of some gold glitter cardstock, and I die cut 3 more out of white just to have a nice stacked dimensional sentiment. And I'm going to be using some spray adhesive. I really like using this when it comes to stacking a lot of layers, so I'm just going to spray this in a box and then come in and stack them up on top of one another. That gold piece, making sure to leave for the top. Now you don't have to use a spray adhesive, that's just my personal preference. You can use a liquid adhesive, that would work just as well, and I actually do come in and use that kind of whatever's handy at the moment. There was one piece that didn't seem to be stuck down quite well, so I just came in with the Simon Says Stamp tacky glue and added a little bit there and made sure that held down. And then I'll just put a block on that for a little bit while I work on the rest of my card. So to kind of go with my scene, I die cut a stitched hill from some white glitter cardstock, and I'm going to add this right behind my tree. So using that tacky glue, I'm just going to put down a layer of glue, and then I'll also put some at the bottom of that glitter cardstock, and I'm going to line that up so there's just this really pretty sparkly snowy hill behind my tree. Just push that down really well. This tacky glue does adhere to glitter cardstock very well. I had absolutely no problem with it. And you could see how this is coming together, and I'm just loving this ink blend combo for this background. Now, if you're going to stamp a sentiment on the front of your card, I would advise to do it before adding that snowy hillside background. I do end up doing it, and it does work out fine. Towards the end, I kind of forgot to get a sentiment in there, but if you want to add a sentiment to the front, just stamping it, I would do it now or even before you added that snowy hill. So here, I'm just continuing on putting my card together. I added some glue to the tree and a tape runner behind the rest of the card so I could attach that to the ink blended background. And just pushing those down really well to make sure that my tree is stuck down to that glittered background that I created. And then I'm coming in, I wanted to add some more to this, more of a snowy scene. So I'm using the stitched flakes, and this cuts quite a few different snowflakes. So I'm just going to use the 3 smallest ones out of it. This was also something I actually wanted to put down before gluing the tree down, but I was getting really excited creating my card. So I just cut off a piece of it. That way it looks like it's kind of creeping in on the scene. And I'm just adding that tacky glue. Now glue those off on the side. I like the look of that where it's not completely in the picture frame. It's kind of off on the side. So you can glue those down before or after and just trim it off like I am here. And I stuck with just using the 3, so staying in odd numbers. And that really adds a nice touch to this winter scene. So now I'm kind of just getting an idea where I want my sentiment to go. So I just laid down the Mary. I'm going to be using the Tiny Words Christmas Sentiment Stamp Set from Simon Says Stamp. And like I said, I have quite a bit going on here. And I wanted to stamp directly onto the card. So if you wanted to stamp, I would do it before, but this still works out really well. I'm just using my Misty tool, lined up where I wanted that Mary sentiment to go, and then placing my tiny words underneath that. And I'm using the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink to stamp this. I'm just doing it really careful, and if it doesn't work out, I could always put it onto a strip of cardstock and trim it down. So either way, there's ways to work with it if it doesn't quite work out that way, but mine happened to work out. And then I did add some craft foam behind my panel and attach that down to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white card base. So then just using my Simon Says Stamp tacky glue and some tweezers, I'm going to go ahead and add my Mary die cut that I created. So I'm really happy with how this card came together. I hope this inspires you and you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and also on my blog. Lots of great products being released from December with Simon Says Stamp, so be sure to head over and check those out. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.